Hey guys, welcome back to our first off-season Zoom show. Hopefully you guys caught our last first and 10 that we did with the McHugh twins. We put a lot of work into that one, and get your kids signed up for it. It's going to be a very good camp, and they're going to learn a lot. And you guys will learn a lot as well as parents. They're going to bring a lot of information as far as how recruiting works, nutrition, and things like that for your kids, and how to have them get better and get ready for those high school Friday nights. Um, we're gonna pick up off this college recruiting type trip that we're on right now, and we've got a special guest with us today, Texas A&M Kingsville's head football coach, Mike Salinas. How you doing, Coach?
I'm good. How are you guys doing this morning?
We're doing very well, very well. First off, again, we want to say thank you for taking the time to come on. We know you're a busy guy. It's recruiting season, so we figure you guys are going to be pretty busy. Actually, spring ball season, right? It's March 8th today. We'll actually be recording or airing this at a later date. Uh, but first off, let's get to know you. I mean, you've been there. This is going to be your third season, and you kind of came in having a drink from a fire hose and jumped right into the COVID fire, right? So, Coach Salinas is a native of Edinburgh. You know, for some of you guys who haven't followed him, he's actually a former Javelina player. Played for Coach Harms and actually coached with Coach Cundiff right after. And just kind of run through your resume with us real quick, Coach, and see if I'm missing anything. You know, after were you a graduate assistant there at Kingsville, or were you an actual assistant?
I came on as an assistant.
Okay.
I was a GA for about a month, and there was an opening, and sort of landed into a full time role right out of the chute. So I was fortunate in that regard.
And then from there, you went on to West Texas A&M, Sam Houston State. Had a cup of coffee at Harlingen South for a couple of years, then went back to the college ranks at Hardin Simmons. And then this one here kind of caught me off guard. And it makes sense now when we find out where you're from. You actually opened up Edinburgh Vela, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
So what was that like? I mean, looking at what these guys are doing now, I mean that they're the Valley powerhouse, right?
Yeah, it
So
was a unique experience. Anytime you have a chance to open a school and do something from the ground up was very unique. It was my first head coaching opportunity. I had a great administration and great principal there who understood what it was going to take to win. So I had a hand in hiring all 52 assistants for the athletic program. And we finished our last 3 years there 31-5, and we thought left it in a really good place, and then left there and took another opportunity over in Weslaco to try to go there and again get that place back where we thought it needed to be, and then there's been some other stops before here.
yeah, kind of digging again. We got this from your bio off Kingsville's website, but going a little deeper, I saw that you coached at Robstown, you coached at Flower Bluff, so you've kind of dipped around the coastal bend and kind of South Texas a lot.
Yeah, I did. I got done playing at Kingsville, and my dad was a longtime high school football coach and coached in the Valley for 36 years, and uh, majority of his career in Edinburgh and Harlingen. But felt when I graduated, I sort of wanted to get out, and I didn't want to do the GA deal and coach sort of guys I played with. Felt I needed to branch off and find a way to get myself a job, and went over to Flower Bluff and interviewed and started my career there with Mike Crow. At the time, we had a successful year, and then a gentleman that I've known for years, Claude Bassett, uh, was at BYU for years, and then left Kentucky and went to Robstown and called me up and needed some help. And I had a really brief stint there. I went over as a 23-year-old and coordinated the defense for a year, and then had an opportunity to come back home to Kingsville and start my college career. Coach Cundiff gave me my first opportunity. Young, really young in my career, but really indebted to him for giving me an opportunity here, and then that sort of propelled my college career after that.
We've got a kind of a roadmap of what we want to do here today, but you brought something up, and it's something Justin and I have wondered a lot between ourselves. But you started off on the college coaching ranks, and you went back to high school. What was your major, I guess, your deciding factor whether you wanted to stay on the college road or go back to the high school road?
Uh, Got here in '02, and we were really successful. We won a conference '02, '03, and '04. We went to two semifinal appearances in those 3 years. We were top five in the country every year I was here. And then because of success we had at A&M Kingsville, Don Carthel got the job at West Texas A&M, I went out there to be a defensive coordinator at 27, and sort of what I wanted to do in the next step in my career. We were really hot there. We did a great job in recruiting over the course of a summer, and we resurrected a program there that had won 5 games in about the last 3 years, and we went 10-2 and won the conference for the first time in 50 years, and had the next opportunity 11 months later at Sam Houston State to go over and be a special teams coordinator and coach the linebackers. So it was sort of the next step in the progression. Then I took a step back. My father, and in some family situations that I felt that I needed to be back home and be around my mom and dad. And he had gone through a little rough patch, losing some family members. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to not make a decision that was based on what was best for me. I felt like I needed to take a step back. And sometimes God presents opportunities or gives us signs and we don't listen. But I figured I was still young enough to get back in if I wanted to. So I took a step back and took a high school job for about 1.5 years and went down to Harlingen South. But that was the main reason of getting out. And it is different in that regard, but had an opportunity to go back to Hardin Simmons or go to Hardin Simmons after leaving Harlingen South and get back in college. And probably the best 11 months in my coaching career. Worked for a gentleman named Jesse Burleson, who's done a great job with that program and stole a lot and sort of made our own of what those guys did at Hardin Simmons. Jimmy Keeling had been there for years and run a successful program. So I think, again, God created an opportunity that before I had the next opportunity to be a head coach, I was around some people that were not only going to make me a better football coach, but were going to make me a better person and a better husband, and allow me to understand the culture and environment I wanted to create, not only for a football team, but for a staff. So indebted to those guys for the opportunity they gave me. And opportunity at Edinburgh Valley came up to open a new school, which was tough. Didn't know if I wanted to do that at that point, but we did, and sort of took it from there. So I bounced around, not for any really particular reason. I just some doors opened, and sometimes they're not the right timing. Sometimes they are. So I've taken some chances, but for me, luckily, it's worked out to this point.
Coach, that what do you think? You know, you've went high school, you went college, back to high school, back to college. What do you think the main differences is, right? When you're a head coach at college versus when you're in head coach in high school, as example of opening up Edinburgh Villa. Like, what would you think your biggest challenges are in both? I guess the main difference in high school and college, right?
Yeah, so the challenges between a high school student athlete and a college student athlete, some are similar, but they are worlds apart in some capacities. So the challenges in high school, you're around your kids a bunch. You got them all, so you're going to coach them all, and you want to love them all the same and coach them all the same. You want to encourage them to. I think you're still in the developmental process, and you still have to mentor and motivate and develop, which is no different in college. You spend a little more time with them in high school because you see them in an athletic period. You see them after school. They're around. You know everything that's going on, and you sort of know the environment, the town, exactly what you're dealing with. So you have some issues that you may need to work out from a culture standpoint within the school system, within the community. But we always felt that an athletic program could change the culture in a school, and a school could change the culture in a community in terms of high school athletics. At the college level, we're getting guys from all different walks of life. We're getting guys that get on our campus that maybe haven't had teammates that look like some of their teammates. They haven't had professors. A college campus is different. I think the first 3 to 4 months for a young man or a young lady on a college campus is going to determine whether they're successful or not. So we have to make sure that we're doing a great job in terms of development and mentorship. And I still believe at this level in college motivation, our deal now is that we recruit them. So we need to make sure that we're doing our research in terms of what type of person they're going to be. It's not just about how good of an athlete they are. They have to have the other intangibles to be able to survive and make it as a college athlete. We want to help them and provide guidance for these guys. And then the biggest challenge for me over the last 2 years, we've been here just over 24 months now, is that we've had to try to bring them together as a family, and to make them understand that they're part of something bigger than themselves, at times in limited capacities because of COVID. So we've had to do that in small group settings.
Is the college realm, right? You've done it since you were what, 23 years old, you said, correct? That was when you kind of hopped right in. How hard is that grind to be a young college coach? And there's a lot of rungs to that ladder, right? Me and Jacob talk about it all the time. I mean, you see a guy, he's a GA, and the next year he's a special teams coach at a slightly smaller school than he's at a GA, and then he's a tight ends coach at a lower D1, and the next thing you know, this dude's a OC, right? And there's like so many different pit stops he took, and the runs. It just seems like that grind. I mean, you're constantly moving. You're probably being the recruiting guy. How hard is that grind for the young guys like Bridger? I know Bridger, we talked to him before. That's kind of the trajectory he wants to be on.
Mm-hmm. I think it's what you make of it. We were 24 years old. I had never made any money. Money wasn't what the driving force behind what I wanted to do in my career. When I was given an opportunity to be a college football coach at my alma mater here at A&M Kingsville, I knew that as an assistant, I had aspirations to be a coordinator. So my job was to work like a coordinator, prepare like a coordinator, work day in and day out like a coordinator, so that if an opportunity arose because of the success that we had at A&M Kingsville, that I would be ready and prepared for that. You don't ever know if you are. You just have to work like it. When I became a coordinator at the college level, I knew I wanted to be a head coach. I didn't know if that would happen, but I knew that's what I wanted to do ultimately someday. So you work and prepare and train like a head coach, and you try to make sure that you stick around to ask questions and find out all the inner workings of the program. How do you deal with alums? How do you deal with boosters? How do you deal with the ins and outs of compliance and people on campus? Because it's not just about the football coach and his staff. To win at this level, it takes everybody, and you got to make everybody feel a part of it, and everybody's got to be vested in what they're doing. In order to do that, they got to believe in what you're doing. So it is a little bit of a grind, but I don't think it's when you're young, you don't really know any better. You just go to work and work till the job is done. You don't really. In my case, I didn't have a family. I waited a little longer in my life to get married. But you just got the job done and did the best you could, and tried to work harder than the next guy. But my philosophy has always been, try to be different. That doesn't necessarily mean better, but in your approach to how you operate and how I tried to do things on a daily basis, I wanted to be different than the next guy. So when an opportunity did arise for a chance to move up, I was a guy that they would potentially look at because of the work that I had put forth to that point.
I know that me personally, there's a couple guys that I can look back at that I played for, and that I know personally now that in my head, like, that would be, I look at them and they, not that they walk on water, but I like what they do. I like their mindset. I like how they approach the situation in the game. Who would be a couple of the main guys, if just looking back when you're young, first out the gate, that kind of touched you and molded you into the guy that you are now? Who would those guys be?
I think playing for Coach Harms here, they were, I got here in 1995 when they were ultra successful. They had just got done playing for a national championship, and we were having 5 and 6 guys a year sign NFL contracts out of a Division II school. So having an opportunity to get out and potentially go to some different places, I wanted to have a chance to play close to home and play at a place that was competitive. But Coach Harms would be the first one that come to mind in terms of when I got into the college ranks of sort of how to operate and run. I think he was a consummate professional and how he handled himself on a daily basis. He was the athletic director and a head football coach at a small college, which is tough to do. And he found a way to juggle it with a minimal staff and support, but he did that. And then I've had an opportunity to work for some other guys along the way. Todd Witten, who's over at Tarleton, gave me an opportunity. Richard Cundiff, who I worked for here, and Jesse Burleson, who gave me a chance at Hardin Simmons. But starting off, I knew this is sort of what I wanted to do. My dad was a coach for 36 years. So at a young age, I got to see, I guess, what comes with the title coach, right? The responsibilities that come with it. And I think I got to see firsthand at a young age what it meant to be a coach of significance. It's more than just the ball part, the getting guys rides, to understanding guys' different situations at home. And so at a young age, sort of got to see all the hats you have to wear as a high school football coach. And I think some of that has prepared me for some of the humanistic approach that you have to take, with the guys when you manage a football team, because everybody's situation ain't the same.
Definitely. How would you say the game's evolved, right? From when you first got in the college ranks to now, just the athlete, the daily routine, has it changed a whole lot since when you first started coaching to where you're at now, or has it been pretty even kill?
No, I think it has. I think from terms of staffing, you have a little more staff, you have more support staff. At a small college level, you no longer have to be the strength coach and the linebackers coach. You have a strength coach now, you have a strength staff, you have a little bit more support staff for academic success. And then the game in general, the football part of it, I think is continuing to evolve from no huddle to spread systems to RPOs. It's every year there's little nuances that are continuing to get incorporated in the ball game, and somebody's sort of setting a trend, and then you're trying to do some film studies to find out what we can add to make us better. And I think that's trickled down. You can see that at every level. The NFL has changed over the last 10 years. College football has changed. And coincidentally, because of that, high school football has changed. It's gotten more advanced, and that's sort of the trend that has always sort of been in place. I just think right now it's a little more advanced at every level than it's been, 10 years ago.
No, definitely. And you said you were a defensive coordinator when you're at West Texas A&M, correct? Is that always kind of what you were? Were you always a defensive guy, or did you like offense a little more when you were coming out of high school?
I was a quarterback out of high school, and I played quarterback here for a year, and then I transitioned over to defense. So I started my career on the defensive side, and then in 2011, I flipped to offense, and I've sort of been on the offensive side ever since.
Okay.
We're talking about the differences in college and high school, and you brought up something that I've been kind of wanting to ask. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. So let's talk about your recruiting. This off season. Actually, you got in kind of late when you got hired, right? Back in 2020, and then you had the COVID thing hit, right? So that really hampered everything. This last off season, or this actually a couple months ago, you guys signed a very great recruiting class with some very big names out of the high school circuit. One of the ones that caught our eye was Doug Brooks out of Shiner, right? And anybody watched the state championship games the last couple of years knows who Doug Brooks is. The Brooks brothers have pretty much become a household name. Then you signed a couple good guys off that team as well. Tyler Bishop, that you guys signed, is a very, very good playmaker for those guys. And you got
two of the Cuero receivers.
Yeah, you got both Cuero receivers who are very big playmakers. One of the things that I wanted to ask, you said when you played for Harms, you guys were getting 4 or 5 NFL contracts from Division II colleges. What coming in, stepping in where you stepped into, what's missing? What's been missing? What do you think's been missing with that aspect?
I think recruiting is just work. Recruiting is about relationships. Recruiting is work. The transfer portal is changing some of high school recruiting, and I think that was evident this year. There was a better player available because Division I schools are going to the portal to get a freshman that's been in a 4-year school for a year already, has been developed, has been a college student, has proven that he can stay out of trouble and pass academically. So it's a different product. I think the portal for the next 3 years is going to continue to change recruiting. I don't think we're out of the COVID effects on recruiting yet. There's still the super seniors, the guys that have had an extra year. So that's going to continue to put a hamper on high school recruiting, I think, for the next 3 years. But recruiting is about relationships. It's about being different than the next guy. And we're in a day and age now where you have to call them, you got to text them, you got to tweet them. You have to hit every aspect of it. So it's a nonstop job in this regard. But I think our staff did a great job understanding the vision and the approach we wanted to have to recruiting. What's been missing to get those athletes, I wasn't here. I don't know. My job is to try to go get them. We're selling ourselves, the vision we have for this program, the tradition that is A&M Kingsville. And right now we got to win, but we're selling them an opportunity to be part of us getting that flipped. And we've come here to get a job done. We're going to work tirelessly till we do it. I think we're on the right trajectory in terms of our performance in year one. We're going on 3 years of potentially being here and played one season. So it's really a tough situation there, but we tell our guys all the time, we want to be different when we recruit them. And we're going to be different because we're going to work to build intentional relationships with our guys. We're going to work to make sure that they understand we want to help them in every aspect of their life. And then, I'm sitting there in front of them sort of 25 years later, living proof. I walked on here. I became a team captain. I'm back 25 years later as a head football coach. I'd never thought that back then. But so when we do talk to them about relationships, some of the same people that were my professors in college or were on this campus, I deal with on a daily basis now.
That's got to be a different dynamic, I guess, right? Wow.
Yeah.
So jumping back, right? After Weslaco, you kind of took a year off, right? You were out of football for about a year, right? So what made you decide to get back in?
I did. Didn't know if I could do it. I'd coached for about 20 years at this point, and I've known a gentleman out of West Texas named Ronnie Flowers for a number of years, and he's a athletic and apparel equipment. He owns an athletic apparel equipment company. They were going through a merger, and I've had 3 buddies that got out of coaching, went and worked for him, and all did really well because they worked it like a coach, and they were ultra successful as in the sales world. So he called, offered me an opportunity that I felt me and my wife couldn't turn down at the time. It was hard to step away because you don't really know if you're making the right decision, but I've always been raised to make a decision and make it the right one through your work. But there was a reason he called and offered a job multiple times. So we did that. And I told my wife sort of, when we took a high school job, I told her college is probably out of it because in this profession, out of sight, out of mind, so to say. And we were happy. We were good with that. We were content. Had a good little run at Weslaco and did well. This opportunity came up and I told her, well, we're probably really done now with the college. That opportunity is not going to come back. So we had an opportunity. My wife got inducted to the Hall of Fame the year that I took off. Her softball team came up and watched the game and sort of was an empty feeling because it wasn't what our vision of Kingsville was before, not in a negative or bad light, just the overall environment and atmosphere wasn't what I remember as a player or coach. So when the opportunity and the job came open, it spurred a little interest. I didn't know if I'd be given an opportunity, but it was one that I felt like, man, maybe this is why we took a job and got a year off to rejuvenate, knowing what's in front of us. I've never been one to worry about what anybody says if you don't get it or you applied and didn't do this. I think things happen for a reason, and God places people in different events in your life at different times for particular reasons. And had a good conversation with a couple folks and applied for the position and interviewed, made the finals, and then got offered the job. And okay, well, sometimes you watch what you wish for because it was here quick and in a hurry, right? But we felt it was the right thing to do. We knew that we were not in the best situation. Coming off a 2-9 season, and but I got a lot of love for Texas A&M Kingsville, the people that have done so much for years at this place. And I always believed and felt that Kingsville was special because of the people that made it up, and those people were still here. So we took the challenge to come back and try to get it back where we believe it deserves to be. And that's in the national conversation. It's going to be a lot of work to get there. But if we do it the right way, we're confident that we can work to get it done.
So, we've talked about the recruiting aspect. We've talked about this. Um, to go back on the recruiting, the big thing with that we're hearing about this season is NIL. Right now, is that having any effect at your level as well? Like, are you going to see Young's Pizza doing an NIL deal or anything like that? Or
It's coming into play. We've had folks reach out already, and we have a guideline and a layout that our compliance officer has put together. And But for the most part, we direct those calls to our academics and compliance officer. She directs them on what they can and can't do, and we can't really facilitate it. At that point, those folks will reach out. I do believe that within the year, we're going to have some kids. I don't know the the dollar amount, but we're going to have some kids on NILs, not only from local vendors, but some folks have flipped it and said, "Man, I got a guy. We have an alum. We have somebody that's interested in this young man. He lives in the area. They're going to put him in an NIL for their company, and it's sort of local advertisement for them. They're sort of helping one of their own, and in return, that may be better than a ad in the local paper, because folks that are close to that young man or that student athlete are going to maybe go into their shop or do some things there. So it's not having the same effect at this level that it is at the Division I level, but I definitely believe that it's a trend that's going to work its way down. And I know that this coming year, we're going to have multiple guys on an NIL.
that's pretty wild, because you don't really hear about it. You're hearing about the D1 schools, and it hadn't come up. Actually, it hadn't crossed my mind until we started talking about the recruiting today. And that is pretty wild that it is going to be having that trickle down effect that you will see it at numerous levels of college football.
Yeah, it may not be the same money that they're getting at Division I, but it's going to be some money where kids have to post something, or social media is a really strong force nowadays, and people are understand it and know, hell, this guy's got 15,000 followers or 20,000 followers, and it may be worth their while to go that route with a particular young man rather than advertising through another aspect.
I feel like car dealerships just around small schools like Kingsville would benefit off it. Just getting some of the, I mean, you have a good athlete, getting the name out like Neeson and Kingsville. I feel like they could benefit here and there just off the social media presence. So yeah, I definitely could see where that would take in. The one I was curious about when you mentioned transfer portal, has that helped y'all out a lot? Because I figure, transfer portal, everyone talks about, bigger schools cherry picking bigger schools, top dogs. We've seen it, but it also, the transfer portal really gives, I feel like, schools like Kingsville a chance to go in and get a guy that maybe went to a school like UT or University of Houston, who got hit with some reality of, oh, whoa, hey, maybe I'm not going to be the starter right off the bat, and I'm going to have to sit, and they don't want to, and they can go to a school like Kingsville and be an immediate impact. And Al Harris is a good example that I can remember off the top of my head that went to Kingsville and had a great career in the NFL. So, it's, everyone always thinks that the NFL players come right off the big blue bloods, but when you really look at the NFL, there's a lot of smaller schools that have a lot of blood in it too. So how's that helped y'all in the transfer portal?
There's a ton of kids in there. I think it's tough for the guys getting in because it's not open-ended on both sides. You get in, but there's a lot of kids that are continuing to stay in the portal. We have had some success with grad transfer guys in the transfer portal. So for us, the benefit is the young man has already graduated. He has a degree. He's in the portal because he wants to play his last semester of eligibility. He's not in there because he, wasn't happy with the situation, did that. He just wants another opportunity. He is a proven student because he has a degree. He's going to be in a graduate program. So we've had success with those guys. We have taken some regular four-year transfers as well. But a lot of the guys that are getting in the portal are getting in to try to get it to another Division I school. But again, we have recruiting has changed. And we have two coaches dedicated to the portal. That's an area for them. So they navigate their way through the portal as names filter and come up. Then we gather information and make sure that it's a guy we either want to recruit or we're going to move on and try to find the next guy.
And then you also have there's the JUCO realm as well, right? Everyone always thinks the high school is the only ones getting affected. JUCOs probably, I would think, get pretty affected too by super seniors and the transfer portal being so heavy, because it's almost like you get a JUCO opportunity at a D1 school with a transfer portal, whereas JUCO you could do what 1-2 years and then you were kind of in the portal to get picked up as a transfer, correct? So
Yeah, most of the junior college guys, there was a better player in junior college available in December. I think there's going to be a better player available in May that we're going to try to recruit, because again, the portal now, instead of going to the junior college level and getting the guys that are D1 eligible, have gone to the portal. So Division I schools have continued to do that. There's still some junior college players available that we feel are better players. We signed 7 in December that we got transfer wise, and we need to go out this summer and get older. We're a very young football team. So we're going to hit the junior college really recruiting end of it hard. We recruit everybody everywhere from California JCs out to the East Coast, out to Kansas and Mississippi. So California has over 80 junior colleges that play football.
how has that been? Okay, so and you don't have to give super specifics, because I mean, well, people aren't going to listen that are your rivals, but how do you go in and pick like a player and just say, like, we have an opportunity with this guy. He's not too highly rated where he's not even gonna give us an opportunity. Do y'all have to sit down and look at that, or do y'all even not even care? Y'all just go in, y'all want a guy, and that's how you pick it?
We know there's some players that if you're at the junior college level, your goal and aspirations are to play Division I football. And we get that, but there's a lot of factors that come into play. You got to have a certain GPA to get out to Division I. You can be D2 eligible and not Division I eligible. So we'll go in and recruit that guy just like anybody else, and let him know that, hey, Justin, I know your goal is to play Division I. If you don't make it, we'd love to talk to you. If everything doesn't work out this semester, because you have to pass a history and you got to pass a science class, if you have a hiccup along the way, know that you still have an option at Kingsville. And then we continue to recruit those guys, find out about them. Now, if they don't make it, does he have all the intangibles we want to come and inject him into our locker room? Is he going to be a positive factor for us, or is he going to be a guy that we don't want to deal with? So we'll go after some guys that we're not supposed to get, and you'll get them. I mean, a prime example is, even at a high school level, is Doug Brooks.
Yeah.
We were on Doug. We knew he was going to have bigger fish to fry at the end of the day. And I told him that, but I said, hey, if it doesn't work out, I'd love to have an opportunity to recruit you at A&M Kingsville. And so every time we saw Doug and went in to recruit a gentleman the year before, we went ahead and built a relationship with Doug. And when things fell through for him, we were a phone call he made, and we jumped in the car the next day and went up to Shiner and saw him and had him on campus a couple of days later. So it was a unique situation, but that's why you go after some guys that maybe some people think you can't get or you're not supposed to get.
Yeah. So we're not going to take up too much more of your time, Coach. You're a busy guy. So right now, what are your immediate goals? The next 2-3 years.
We have to get better, but our immediate goals is, if we want to win, we want to do it the right way. My goal is to put a product on the field that all of our alums, all of our ex-players can come to a ball game and feel proud of. We want to create an environment on game day around here that gets folks excited again. It's South Texas. I know they love football down here. I've been here all my life, but I know they don't like bad football. So if you're not going to put a product on the field that people can be proud of, they're not going to come out and support us. We play in a very competitive league. It's a good brand of football in our conference. We're going to work to win week in and week out, but I want to make sure that our guys are prepared and they can go out and compete fearlessly. And we're going to go out every Saturday and fire our best shot. But we need to be able to win. There's no question at this level. That's what you got to do it for. I want to do it the right way. I want to make sure that our guys represent us the right way, not only on game days, but in the community and on campus and in town. So I think we're working to do that. And I want to make sure that they have a great experience here. Get an education, get a degree. That's what you came here for. Have a great experience, and then send players back. And that's what made us successful in the 90s and in the 80s is guys came and played here. They had a great experience playing football. For whatever reason, they had a hell of a time in Kingsville, Texas, right? And they enjoyed it, and everybody was all in to what was going on. And they won a bunch of football games, and then they sent players back. They sent cousins, they sent brothers, they sent family friends. And that's what I think we got to get back to here. The only way to do that is for guys to leave with a great experience. Well, you're going to do that by treating them the right way. Our number one priority is to take great care of our guys, and I believe that. We got to be there for them. We can't fake that. Right, wrong, or indifferent. At the end of the day, we're going to love them, and I'm not afraid to tell them that. And then I want to make sure that when they leave here, they have an opportunity to be set up for success, and then be able to connect current Javelinas with past Javelinas, right? Create a network and a group of guys that you can feel special, because everybody doesn't make it at Texas A&M Kingsville or old Texas A&I, for 4 or 5 years in a program. And the guys that do, there's something to say for that. So we want to make sure that we continue to do that. But to answer it, Jacob, really is to our goal, and I tell our guys, is to honor everybody that has come before us, right? All the guys that have played before us, and then, leave a mark, leave a legacy for the guys that are going to follow you. And then challenge yourself to do that on a daily basis, which is tough, but we want to be purpose driven. And I think if we can do those things, the winning part will come. May not happen when we want it, but if given time, which in today's day and age, you don't get that all the time. So if we don't, I get it. But if given time, I think we're going to recruit the right guys, and we're going to build this thing the right way. And hopefully the wins will take care of itself.
Justin, you got anything else?
No, not really. With the recruiting class y'all just pulled in like that, that was obviously you're starting to get that way, right? You're starting to go towards that goal. I think maybe the one thing that's not really touched on is you're a Hispanic head coach in high school, in college football, and you were one in high school football as well. And I think there's something to be said for that, because I know that I believe there's not quite as many Hispanic head coaches in college football. I know there's probably some more in high school, considering you got the Valley regions and whatnot. And there's even Hispanic coaching things on Twitter. So that's something to be said, to be a college coach with a Hispanic heritage, and you got that opportunity. That's pretty huge,
Yeah, I take a lot of, pride in that. First Hispanic head coach at Texas A&M Kingsville. There's only been 12 of them. But I'm the first Hispanic head coach here. I'd have never thought in 1995, walking through the doors, that I'd be sitting in this situation. I'm an alum from this place, so that part is important. But I also have I feel like I got a duty and responsibility to not only Texas high school football coaches, because at heart, that's sort of who I am. That's where I've cut my teeth. And then a duty to other Hispanic coaches to make sure that doors will continue to open. Our head basketball coach here was a classmate of mine. He's our first African-American head basketball coach on campus. So it's two things, or two gentlemen, myself and him, that take a lot of pride in each one of those. We both were alum from this place. This place was special to us. It provided a lot for us in my time here. And it was because of the professors, because of the people that were associated with this town, the community, the boosters. They all made us feel special. So my goal now is to make sure that we get guys back on campus and we can provide that same experience for them. Because I do believe that Kingsville still is a special place. And in due time, hopefully we can get us back where folks expect us to be.
Hey, you just talked about the basketball team, and that's taken a step in the right direction, right? They just played for the conference championship in the tournament, correct?
They did. They walked in as a 12th seed. They had some challenges this season with COVID and injuries, but they got in the conference tournament as a 12th seed. They played in the championship game, and then they got an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. So Coach Estelle and his staff have done a great job, and that's another thing that on this campus, when you're in small college athletics, you want to change the environment for your student athlete, and we want to make sure that we're supporting each other. We get a chance. Hell, they played here. The girls played a week ago. I canceled study hall and said, "Hey, let's go to the basketball game and support our girls basketball team," because we're trying to create an environment and culture on this campus, it's different. And it's something to say to go out and support. We expect people to come out and support us. Well, we got to do the same for them. And even if that's just at the campus level. So we encourage our guys to get out to multiple events, whether it be baseball, softball, basketball, volleyball, because those are the same folks that we want to be in the stands on Saturday. And again, I think that will come. It's just going to take some work. And we have some folks on this campus that have a vision of what we want to do. Our athletic director has done a great job to this point, Steve Roach, and he has a vision of where we want to be. So now we just got to continue as a staff and as a program in terms of football to show up and work the plan every day and make sure that we're recruiting the right guys and injecting the right guys in our locker room to help us be successful.
The only thing I have left, Jacob, and I like to get people, especially like Mike here, could you give us a little, maybe a little quick talk, for future athletes that possibly are watching the show, what to expect, what kind of athlete are y'all looking for? Obviously coachable and just a little advice, what it's like, what kind of guy are y'all looking for?
I think sometimes as a high school athlete, they hear it from their coaches and their counselors and they lose sight of how important academics truly is, but it's going to close some doors for some of them if they don't handle their business in the classroom. But we look for guys with academic ability. You got to be able to, if you don't have academic ability and you're going to be a risk academically, the odds of us being able to develop you aren't going to be good. You're going to be here for a year, for two, and you're not going to be able to withstand the rigors of a college student athlete. So you got to have academic ability. They got to understand the importance of that. We look for young men with high character. Again, our football team is going to spend the majority of their time around each other. So we want to inject guys in our locker room that are going to help our locker room get better, that are going to challenge the guys around them to be better. And as I recruit guys, I want to give parents peace of mind that we're going to recruit the right guy for your son to be around. Right. I don't want to inject it with guys that don't have any character because, quite frankly, we spend a lot of time with them as well as coaches, and we're not going to want to be around them. I want to enjoy the guys that we're coaching. I want to be good athletes, but there's a lot of good football players in the country, and we recruit nationally. So we're going to get that done. And then lastly, it's the athletic ability, because I promise you, we can put 20 running backs on the board, and in terms of athletic ability, they're going to be the same. So then we decipher through what's going to make the difference here. And we do all our legwork from now with technology. I can call a kid, I can text a kid, we can research their social media account, and then I can get them on multiple Zoom calls before we even get them on campus. And we're going to find out how they handle themselves. Can they have a conversation with us? Can they do the things? Can they be successful on a college campus? Because there's some social skills that are required to be successful in college. They're leaving an environment that they're comfortable in, and they're getting in one where they're going to have to adapt at times, possibly change. So there's a lot of factors that go involved. But for a young guy out there that wants to play college football, I would tell them that the opportunity is there. Don't worry about the level that you're going to do it at, because again, it's going to be about relationships. It's going to be about the experience you have. And ultimately, the bottom line is going to get a degree. And if you can do that and make sure that if you use football as an avenue to get an education, then you're winning. Michael Salinas probably would not have stayed in school if it wasn't for football. I knew that I had to pass 24 hours a year. I had to maintain over a 2.0. I knew I wanted to be a graduate student. I had to have over a 2.6. So that's sort of what got me through. But I do believe that young men out there can use football or athletics in general as an avenue to get an education. And I think that's, invaluable, but you can't do it if they don't even start, at the ground floor of taking care of their business academically, because at that point, we're going to move on. And we've dealt with high risk guys in terms of academics, but most guys don't want to deal. We want guys that want to get an education and that love to play football, because I'm not going to have to beg you to go to class, and I'm not going to have to beg you to practice. And we're not at this level. There's a expectation and a standard that has to be met. If you don't meet that standard, it's not personal, and it's no hard feelings, but we're not afraid to have tough conversations, and we'll walk in here and we're going to go another direction. You're going to have to make a tough phone call to mom and dad and tell them why it didn't work out. But the choices you made are going to lead to this outcome. This is what has put you here, the choices you made to this point. So they need to understand what they want to accomplish, and then ask themselves, what am I doing on a daily basis? Are the choices I'm making today going to give me the outcome that I want 2 years from now?
Yeah.
And if they're not, then they got to change. If they're not willing to change, don't expect the outcome.
For sure. Is there anything you could tell any athletes? Like I noticed in the past that we've had guys kind of, you see athletes now, they have their GPA, they got their huddles on their Twitter. They have some of them even put their phone numbers and their coach's phone numbers for contact. Is there anything specifically that helps y'all, maybe find a kid and you're like, you're on Twitter and you're like, oh man, look at this guy. Is there anything that kind of y'all would recommend for athletes?
Yeah, they need to
notice to stick out
on their Twitter profile. They need to have their name. It's hard finding, J Money _6, put your name on there so we can find you. Add a huddle link on there, add your NCAA ID number. So we understand and have access to that. And then your contact information on there. But really the first thing is, as we get info on a young man, or somebody calls us, or we see something, we're going to search them on social media. Some are harder to find, and some are really easy to find. And then, what they post matters, because you're representing a university and a program. So as coaches, we got to make sure that we're going to have guys on our campus that represent us the right way. We still police our guys once they're on campus, but that's definitely a way to get yourself out of the equation in terms of what you post or retweet on Twitter. So sometimes it's not, you really didn't post it, but you're retweeting it, and it's stuff that's, nobody wants to be a representation of their program or university, because our guys, whether they know it or not, they're representing the football program, but ultimately they're representing Texas A&M University, Kingsville.
Yep. And coming out the gate, they're representing themselves, right?
Yeah.
To get to that step, so it doesn't look good. Coach, again, thank you for your time. We know you're a busy guy. Like I said, you got spring football around the corner, and it's recruiting season, right? So again, we appreciate the time you took to talk to us today, especially this early on a Tuesday morning. Maybe we'll be able to check in during the season next year, see how everything's going with you guys. If you've got the time, be interested to see how everything's working out.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys. And again, our staff and our kids are working extremely hard right now. We're wrapping up this week, 8 weeks into it, and we'll get back and start spring ball March 28th. So we just appreciate you having us and giving us an opportunity to share a little bit about Javelina football with you, and anything we can do for you guys in the future, you let us know. But we appreciate everything you do for the kids of South Texas and football for our high school athletes. So thank you guys for what you do, and we look forward to seeing you guys around.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
You got it.